Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to be going over the MLA works cited format structure and also the definition of plagiarism so that you can avoid it in the compilation of your essays. First of all, the definition of plagiarism. Plagiarism occurs whenever you take anything, be it wording, simple ideas, or a kind of conceptual framework for anything that you write in our classes from another source. That source that you appeal to could be an online resource like a website, SparkNotes, LibGuides, or the like. It could be a friend with whom you've spoken. It could be a parent who is helping you edit and revise your essay. It could be a journal article or any other number of sources. Anytime that you take language or ideas that are not your own and integrate them into your essay without citing them or without demonstrating or indicating to me or your reader that you have actually taken an idea from another source or wording from another source, you are committing plagiarism. To avoid plagiarism, what you have to do is quote the material that you're taking from an online resource and cite it properly. So if you have a sentence that you've taken from, let's say, SparkNotes, and you integrate that into your paragraph, indicate before the quotation that according to SparkNotes, give me the quotation, and then give me immediately after that a proper in-text citation from that resource on SparkNotes about Shakespeare's The Tempest or The Color Out of Space, or whatever it is that you have taken information regarding. If you do that, rather than trying to pass that language off as your own, you will avoid plagiarism. And I will tell you up front that plagiarism is one of the major reasons for student failures at any level in any course in Heritage College. Almost all of the students that fail one of my courses do one of two things or both. They either fail to submit assignments, which obviously is going to lead you to failure, or they plagiarize, leading to usually a grade of 0 being assigned to that assignment, which is essentially functionally the same as not having submitted the assignment at all. However, citation and quotation are not just relevant to your essay with respect to plagiarism. Every single essay needs quotations. Paraphrases just don't cut it when it comes to proving your argument. Quotations provide me with the specific concrete details that you are going to use to analyze and discuss the text. In other words, you really can't have a paragraph, you really can't have an essay without quotations. So part of what we're doing in this video is discussing the appropriate way to present those quotations and then to cite the sources that you either take ideas from to supplement your essay, or that you take direct quotations from in order to analyze the story. The final page of any essay must be a works cited section. And we'll look at the format for MLA works cited sections in a moment. An in-text citation. An in-text citation is essentially a tag that ends the sentence. After you've provided a quotation, you have to tell me where that quotation came from. In most cases, that citation or in-text citation is going to be just the author's last name and the page number. If you're drawing from an online resource, you probably don't have a page number, so you would just use the author's last name. If you don't have the author's last name, let's say you're drawing from SparkNotes and all you have is the online resource, let's say the title of the article, you'd give me the title of the article. So, as an example, I introduce the quotation by providing some context. He sets the price of the love potion at, and then I integrate my quotation, I include the quotation that I'm citing, at just $1 because he knows that customers will come back later in life. Notice here that I've changed the quotation. I've altered the way in which the quotation actually reads in order to fit it properly or grammatically into my sentence. To do that, to make a change in a quotation that doesn't change its meaning but makes it grammatically correct, you can indicate the change inside square brackets. Another example, the old man says, here I've integrated the quotation using a kind of dialogue tag, the verb says, comma, and then the quotation. One has to be older than you are to indulge in that sort of thing. One has to save up for it. But Alan can only think of the love potion. Here, again, in the same sentence in which the quotation has appeared, immediately after that, I include the citation information. Here, the author's last name and the page number. A quotation must be part of your own sentence, integrating them using the methods in the quotation integration handout that we've discussed in class and that is posted on Omnivox. Generally, the format for any citation does not include a comma. So you never include a comma between the author's last name and the page number. It's simply the author's last name and the page number. So in our case, it would be Lovecraft 10. Or if there is no page number on the version of the Color Out of Space that you have and that you had to read for this course online, you don't even need a page number. It's just Lovecraft. If you were citing two works from Lovecraft, you'd use the titles of those two stories. Now, at the end of your essay, you need a works cited section. Every single in-text citation has to match up with an element in your works cited. So I could have, let's say, 4 quotations from John Collier's story, The Chaser. I would have to have in my works cited section at the end of the paper a works cited entry for his story, The Chaser. Now, MLA citation format follows a specific organizational scheme. This organizational scheme is reflected in this sort summary. The works cited section that appears at the end of your table has at least some of these elements that are listed in this description of the structure for a works format section. Every text that you quote inside the body of the essay has to appear in the works cited section. So, the basic format or the basic structure for a works cited entry. You have the author's last name and then first name followed by a period. Then you have the title of the source. The title of the source is basically the text itself. So if it's a novel, you include the title of the novel. If it's a short story, you include the title of the short story. If it's a play, you include the title of the play. After that, you have a period. Now, after that point, you have the title of the container followed by a comma. Now, container is a funny way of putting it, but it simply means that you have perhaps found this story not on its own, sitting as just a document in itself. You've probably found it in a course pack or on a website or in a collection of short stories. The title of the container is just the larger volume in which you have found the short story or the poem that you're citing. If you're citing a novel or a play, there would be no container because, well, the container is the story itself, right? So, in this case, the story The Chaser was published in Fancies and Good Nights, a collection of short stories. Something to note here about how we cite or how we reference the titles of stories in both the works cited section and in the bodies of essays. Short story titles like The Chaser and like poem titles are in quotation marks. So The Chaser here is in quotation marks on either side. Novels, collections of short stories, plays, film titles are all in italics. So you have italicized them. Now, moving on from the container, we have a comma, and then we provide other contributors. If your story is translated, or if you know the name of the editor of Fancies and Good Nights, you would include it here. So, edited by Matthew Vann, that would be an example of another contributor. After that, you have the version and number. Version and number usually derive from the version and number of an article or of a published scientific or academic journal. For our purposes, you really don't need to worry about that unless you're appealing to secondary sources. And again, remember, if you appeal to any source, you need to cite it properly. The publisher. After another comma, you have the publisher. New York Book Review Books Classics. In our case, because we're citing digital texts, you would look at the publisher of the website. The publication date, which is thus the date that the online resource or the version of the text that you're reading has been published. And then you have the location. Usually the location means the page range on which you can find the story. So if I open up a collection of short stories and I see that John Collier's The Chaser is on page 415 to 416, I would have pp dot and then the page numbers. Now, if you're using a website, all you would have is web, and then you would include the URL, right? The link to which you can use, or which you can use to access that copy of the text. So as you're moving forward, keep in mind the basic structure of MLA format works cited pages. And as an example, we're going to take a look at another works cited page so you can see what it actually looks like in the body of an essay. Here we have a sample works cited page. We are on the 4th page of the essay, right? So we have a full essay here. It is following the appropriate MLA format. It has your last name and the page number in the top right-hand corner. It has the publication or the information regarding your name, the teacher's name, the course, and the date. It has a title. It has an introduction. It's double-spaced. It has body paragraphs, integrated quotations, on and on and on. On that last page, again, same thing. We have your last name and the page number up there. Centered at the top of the page is works cited. Each works cited entry almost follows the opposite form of, let's say, an entry inside or a body paragraph. Instead of indenting the first line, you indent every other line. So the first line is flush with the left margin, and then every line after that, you tab in. The works cited section is also double spaced, and it follows all those different, or it includes all those different aspects that we described in the list of elements of a works cited section. The works cited section is itself alphabetized. So entries in the works cited section are arranged in order of author's last name. So let's say for a moment that you were citing me and also John Collier. I would come after Collier because my last name is obviously after Collier's.